Spinning.
Yeah. Woo. I hope that's not on the bottom the whole time. That would be annoying. Oh, wait, here, I can hide it. Or not. Apparently the hide doesn't actually work. Okay. We'll just drag it off screen. So those of you who just came in, you're here for the field experience and the topic of the biggest freaking laser I've seen. It's deadly. Well, I'm late, so not everybody.
I mean, it could be that it's one that just because he's calling it this one, right? Yeah. This is the F1, not the there we go. That's the brain.
Next slide. Yeah. I mean, there should be something on there. I feel like the digital experience management. You guys see that from right there? Usually I've been like, since we're recording these better. Good morning. So Drush is kind of a huge topic. So by all means, feel free to leave me down and kind of skim over a lot. Things and I'm not going to get that into. But if there's something you're particularly interested in, please wait a minute up me. Question about it, on the screen. I much prefer interacting and just talking. So by all means, put something in. So, good morning, everybody. Good morning. Yay, this is working. All right, cool. So, let's have some fun with Drush today. I'm Greg Lancher. I work for a company called Mischief. Social media, I spent about 20 years in state government doing DevOps or central agencies who would say work. So I've got a long history of suffering through building government IT environment. And decided to jump over to the dark side a couple of years ago, and now I'm delivering to people who used to be that I was used to be. So I'm the director of technology at Social Media. We do nonprofit and government work primarily. A lot of federal agencies. I'm sure you know a couple of sites today, sort of more widely. Hopefully, I'll blow it up. So let's talk a bit about Drush. So how many of you have used Drush before at something? Oh, right on. Cool. So maybe we can skip through the boring bits and actually talk about something. Good. So how many of you folks are with government agencies? Okay. And contractors? And nonprofits? Hey, nice. Okay. What's that?
Or corporate?
Oh, okay. That works. Cool. So, well, I won't dive too deeply into this because it sounds like almost everybody uses Drush before me with this. So, how many of you are actively using the Predator right now? Okay.
We use it, but most of the people that do stuff pushing through Jenkins.
Okay. Okay. Cool. So, some of these things then I'm going to go, kind of skip ahead on, and then maybe we can just have some discussion and talk about it. So that one, you all probably use. Best way in the world to check if it's misbehaving, to see if it can bootstrap. Because if you can't get stats off it, then something's horribly broken. Even Drush is not going to help you. But I think more than any other command, cache clear is the one we use the most. I mean, it's kind of my nature. If there's anything at all weird, or, even, I don't know, there might be something weird. Maybe not. It looks fine, but let's do it anyway. Just put it back. It's saved me so many times where something's stuck in cache, especially if you're using Varnish or something like that, when you get the Varnish module hooked in, cache will clear it. It makes life so much easier because more often than not, there's something weird happening in that cache clear it right out. So anytime I log into a site, I'm going to just kind of automatically do a Drush CC, or actually Drush CC all, but then I can skip the second prompt. Makes life so much easier. So I'm going to get to some of the more interesting stuff. How many of you use Drush to install modules? Okay. So yeah, that's probably the second most common use where I'm starting to develop a new site. Want to get all the modules I need. Oh, I need this one. Oh, need that one. And then, of course, how many of you have done that? Oh, now my site's broken. Crud. And of course, you can disable this again. So since you all have searching for it, I'm not able to deep into that piece of it. But module management is easy to do. It's fast. We actually have a couple of production sites where we have 2 sites, 2 machines. We sync from one to the other. One is an internet site, one is an extranet site. So we actually have some Drush commands I'll show you that do some toggling and things like that. And And stuff like this makes it a lot easier because you can just include that as part of your sync script that syncs the sites between machines. So, yep. How many of you have actually done this? Yeah. Question.
How does PM Drush download just DL?
It's an app. Yeah, I use the long versions here in the presentation because they're a little more clear. But when I'm actually doing it, I use the instead of the long version last time. There it is. How many of you have ever done this? This is a little more esoteric because, but this is especially useful for my theme developers because they go in, they're building clean, they make a syntax error somewhere in the theme, and they have a white screen site they can get back to because you can set that theme to default. So, I taught my front end folks to go in there, enable something built in like Garland, set it as default so then they can get back into the site and actually then disable the theme, fix the theme, whatever they need to do, get in with the log, stuff like that. So this one, this was probably one of the first commands I figured out by using Drush when I was just learning how to develop on Drupal sites because I blow something up and figure out, oh, crap, I think I can get an interface. Now what do I do? So, and it's a lot easier than you know, theme. You just pull the theme directory out, and then you get an unstyled page, which is sort of get to it. That's really awkward. This is much quicker and easier to do that. So it's a nice way to bail you out if you get in trouble, especially with themes. It works sometimes with modules. It kind of depends, and how badly. If you have a broken module and the module really breaks the site, there's a chance Drush won't be able to bootstrap Drupal enough to actually enable or disable it. But often it's not, you're able to use Drush to pull a module out, which has been able to break things. So it is kind of a useful thing. How many of you ever done user management with Drush before? Oh, something new. All right. So this one's actually kind of handy, especially if you're, say, supporting a site that somebody else is managing, because you can get in, you can take a look, you can figure out who that user is, especially if you say you don't have access to the GUI for one reason or another. You can go in, you can poke around, you can do all those sort of things like log in as a user. This is probably the second most often used command for me. This way I can set a random hard-to-guess password on the root account, and then never have to remember that because I can just log into the server, UI, and it gives me the one-time login link for the user. If I pass a username, it will log me in as that user without having to change the password. So it's a nice, quick way to, if you're troubleshooting the user, you can Drush UI username, and you're going to get to log in as that user. And it's better than masquerade because you don't have to install just one masquerade. But this allows you to log in as that user completely with a clean session entirely as a user without having to add and switch back stuff. So you just log in, log it out quickly. Yes. I'm sorry. So what it returns is the the URL it returns is the one-time login link. Is if the user did a password reset request. Sorry. Yeah. Thanks for asking me to explain that. That was not clear on the slide. I apologize. Yeah. So if you do it without a username at all, it will just spit back the root user who wants password reset. So even if you don't have the email address for the root user, you can still get it as that user. This is why physical access to the server is so important. You can own that server with nothing but a unprivileged user command from the command line. You can also do stuff like this, which is kind of handy. If the user forgot their password, you can just Type it in right away without having to log in, go to the user page, find the user, and then you just go in there. Such password on whatever user happens to be using.
Oh, set.
Yeah, this sets it.
Yes.
So,
You have to set it to the encrypted.
no, plain text. Yeah, so that's the plain text version of the user's password. So it then hashes it and pushes it into the database and hashes it. Yeah. So, and again, you just pass an ID or UID number. So I could have put 1 instead of adding in there, or 10, or whatever. And it would set password for that. Quick and dirty trick to get you, if you have to support a lot of users, and especially if you've got help desk staff, this is sometimes a lot faster than trying to log in on the user interface and do it from the browser. This one's a nice one, especially if you're doing scripted deployments and things like that, because you just insert a user with, a business job, for example, or stuff like that. So you can just push that user into your database and not have to worry about synchronizing users around, things like that. So I'll periodically use this to create users on sites we've inherited. So say we've been hired by somebody to rebuild the site for them and it's already in Drupal. We pull the site in, bring it up in our dev environment, and rather than messing with it, just insert a new user that we use then to manage the site and test and build and all that sort of stuff. That way we don't have to touch any of their other user accounts and have to worry about resetting their admin password, things like that. So they get a relatively unchanged user database. And it actually returns more than that, but I didn't have room on the screen, and it really doesn't matter. It's just a bunch of, stuff like last login. I think it has some other status stuff, and some group stuff, things like that. And then as a side note, as a follow-on to that, you can also manage groups, add and remove roles. You can block and unblock users, all that sort of stuff. So a lot of, pretty much any user management you can do from within the web interface can also be done from Drush. And that you have access to the entire variable state. So you can ruin this with the site if you want to, which I'll show you a little bit on later. So, yes, question?
When you create a new user, and the user group, can you make it on admin?
Yes. Yes, exactly, by basically the follow-on command. So, whoops, wrong way. So yeah, we create the user, and then you can immediately turn around and user add role administrator, and that makes them an admin user. Yeah. Or you could add them to any of the other roles. So you could create, test accounts for the various roles that you're developing for, contributor, moderator, whatever you want to call them. And just add that role to that user as a test user, and you're up and running. This is also kind of good for if you're doing any sort of continuous integration. Are you doing automated builds, maybe using Selenium testing and things like that, or VHAT tests, things like that? You can dump the database on the test box as part of your script. You can load the user, you can permission the user, and then that user can then run through their process and the test user test script and all that user. So that's kind of a handy way to spin up the site, spin up the users, and then run your test suite against them.
Multi-site, would that you just specify the alias?
That's a good question. There are several ways to do that. Usually you do a dash URI and then pass the site URI. However, I prefer, if you run Drush from within the directory that has the settings PHP for the site you're working on, it tends to work better for a couple of reasons. One, it is much more likely to figure out what URL to give you, say, when you do a Drush URI. If you're just in default, what it'll do is give you the HTTP/default /that, and so you get a copy and paste that and do something with it. Whereas if you're using multi-site and you're in the site.org, then it's going to use that path automatically. So it's the URI or the URI flag.
But that's a fail safe because if you're in that.
Yeah. If you make sure you're in the directory for the site you're actually working with, that's kind of a safety thing in your head that always knows that you're working on. Haven't had that one fail me yet. so knock on wood.
I like Mason.
Oh, yeah, I have everything fails eventually, right? So I'm going to try and blow some stuff up, and this is kind of an interesting situation where I'm doing a live demo. I actually want something to break, so we'll see how much breaks. So this is kind of a fun one. Let's see, where am I? Okay. Actually, let's do a new window. Is that big enough for you in the back? Go into a temp directory here. So, how many of you have seen this command before, or ever even used it? This is one of the ones that's buried down in there, and I didn't even know it existed until I was at a session some of the Drush guys did at a conference somewhere. I don't remember which one it was. And the whole room kind of went, whoa. If you want to do something really fast and you want to test something, okay, now I'm going to test the bandwidth in the building here. Let's see how fast this works. It's on the wired. We'll see.
Yay.
So what core quick Drupal does is it actually pulls down an entire Drupal core and fires it up immediately. It's running a SQLite on the database. It runs its own little web server, so Drush can actually run a web server, which is kind of terrifying. I mean, normally we use Vagrant and VirtualBox and stuff like that for our development sites, but if you want to just run something really quick and test it, this is actually kind of impressive. Look, Ma, no hands. Yeah, that was my response. Yeah.
Can you do any distro that's
I'm not sure. I haven't played around with it much. Just I don't use this one a lot, other than it's kind of, wow, hey, that's kind of cool. Let's try it.
You guys don't use it in production?
No. No. Nah.
The port number.
Yeah, so that it's the quick Drupal chooses support. Generally, it's 88. That's how I've seen it. I haven't tried to figure out what port it uses, but it just fires up the machine on localhost, and you're running. And you can kind of see in the background what it does. It even has a. So it fires up. Where is it? Yeah, there it is. Yeah. So it just creates a directory, downloads everything to it, and now if I were to, let me go to, I can actually play around in it. Yep, we can pull the Drush statics. Actually, let me pull this aside so we can see better. A little too narrow. Oh, what's a fun module to download? Yeah.
After you can name the directory, edit and so
I don't think so. I mean, this is really designed for a really quick and dirty, I want to try something out, don't want to have to worry about bootstrapping it sort of thing. Generally, you're probably better off doing like a Drush Drupal, and then running either map or something like that to bring up the box if you want to do anything more permanent, then just spin it up and try it out and see what blows up, kind of thing. Yeah, we'll just do this. Oh, thank you. And yeah, see, it's already complaining. It says, nope, can't do that. So yeah, we've got a fully functional, we can do which is actually exactly what the, so here's the example of the Drush ULI. Because I'm in the default directory, it doesn't know what the path to the site is, so I have to copy and paste the URL to this one. We primarily do, we don't do multi-site generally on our sites. In some of our edits, it's worth for us. So I like to just copy and paste the URL because it's easier. But yeah, you've got a fully functional Drupal. Do whatever the hell you want with it. It's kind of fun. So we'll stop that little
Sucker. Oops, where are you? There you are. Yes, CLI. Oh, I sure should have left it running. Oh well. Well, I'll jump over to my other box. So I'll actually show you one of the sites that we built for an agency, since I can't play with the website. Hopefully it'll work out. So, any of you use something like Vagrant or VirtualBox, something like that for local? Okay, good. All right. So, for those of you who haven't been familiar with it, basically what it does, Vagrant is a nice tool, strips building and tearing down of local virtual machines for development. So I'm actually running a CentOS box via VirtualBox locally here that has my project loaded on it. So I've already fired it up. So if I click the link, this will take a second because it's kind of a heavy site. And because it's running locally, it's a little grumpy. There it goes. So I have a fully functional site here. It's happy, it's running, all is good. Let's say I want to mess with this site a little bit and do some stuff to it. So I can do things like, what? Oh, haha, I'm not inside the Vagrant box. How many of you used the SQL CLI command before? Hey, cool. I got another one people haven't had. Good. This is a nice one. So there's a few SQL commands that Drush offers, which is really handy, are really handy. This is one of them, and what it basically does is log into the SQL server as the Drupal user. So you are now using the same credentials that are in the settings PHP, which means you should have the same rights as the Drupal user, so you can actually mess around with the database directly if you want. This, of course, can be truly disastrous if you do this on production. I would recommend it. But it's handy for development if you need to go poke around in the table or something like that, or if you're getting some weird permissions problem and like the Drush or the Drupal user can't read a table out of the database or something like that, you can log in manually, run queries as if you're the Drupal server, and figure out maybe what's going on. The other command that I really love is SQL Sync. How many of you used SQL Sync before? Couple? Okay. So, because unfortunately Drupal 7 and Drupal 8 is not available yet, Drupal 7 stores config as well as content in the database. If you're developing a site that's already up in staging or something like that, and you're in a local development environment, and you want to be working with the same config, can't cite information as everybody else, you guys can into the database now. That's kind of neat. You can use something like that to migrate, run a backup, download a backup, install a backup, and running. But SQL Sync's a nice shortcut. It requires a little bit of upfront work, and you have to set up an aliases file that tells Drush where your various servers are. So those @ references or aliases that point to specific servers. So in this example, I have a staging server for the farm server, and I can run SQL Sync. I'm going to go ahead and run it while I'm talking because.
Where does that alias? Where's the alias?
Oh, I can show you. Hold on. Oops, hold on. So in the site's all Drush directory is where it defaults to. You can also put one in your home directory. Acquia uses that quite a bit. They've got a whole Drush aliases file they have you install if you're working on an Acquia Cloud account that has a bunch of aliases and things like that in it specific to your account. Yeah. Oops. And this one. So yeah, basically it's just a set of arrays that include basic information about. I won't scroll down any further because I think I might have this. Basically, it tells you things like, location. Oh, yeah, I have a pointer. Get to play with the laser. So things like, the URL of the server. In our case, you can't quite see it. So the remote host below that, and also down. Things like using alternate SSH port. So we can send Drush needs to SSH to the remote server to do the database dump for the SQL sync. So the SSH to the remote server. We'll do a dump, save that dump file to a dump file, rsync the dump over your machine, and then load it into your local, wherever you're running the SQL sync from, database, overriding the existing database using the Drupal credentials. So it's a nice way to blow away your local development database, pull down a copy of the current staging or production database, and run it. I've also used this on a couple of places where if we have a, say for a test environment, where we don't want to run tests against the production server, you can schedule a SQL sync to run periodically, pulling prod over to the test server so you can run tests against a relatively current copy of prod. So I'm going to go ahead and run this command. It may take a minute. Actually, no, this is a really big database. I don't want to do on this one on this band. I will save bandwidth for others. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just run the first part of the command because it won't actually run.
So if it's a really big database, how long does it take?
It depends on your bandwidth more than anything else. Actually, I can use self in this case. This is probably. So there's also a special, if that self is going to be the Drupal site directory you're in currently. And so what it's going to do is, let's pull this down. It's going to say, first of all, look very, very carefully at that one. Because it is entirely possible to go the other direction and push your local database up to somewhere else. One of my coworkers is currently working on a Drush plugin that says, you're about to push a database somewhere. Do you really want to do that? Sanity check. For exactly that reason. The other thing is that there's a little quirk in Drush, and that is if it doesn't recognize that it will actually have the same thing in the source and the destination that you really want to do that. So it's kind of a red flag. If you see default, or worse, staging farm swim.io to staging farm swim.io, that's usually a clue that you have a syntax problem in your sync command. And that you're probably going to blow something up, pick it up. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend that. So back to Pearson's question. The amount of time it takes is dependent on the bandwidth between you and the remote server you're SQL syncing from. The second thing is it actually does an entire dump of the database, rsyncs it over, and then loads it again. So however long it takes to dump the database, you can do it. It's usually pretty good. If it's fast server and it's got nice fix off, it's usually not too bad. This one, when I ran it this morning to run this, took 2 minutes. 3 minutes, something like that. And that was over, conference bandwidth. That was on the Wi-Fi too, so not too bad. I'm not actually going to run this because I don't want to blow it up yet. Let's see, what other things would I have on my list? Oh, update. Also known as Drush up. How many of you have used this command? Oh, a couple. Good. This one is kind of nice. I wouldn't recommend doing it on production, but and depending on how you manage your Drupal sites, this may or may not be a good idea. But what it does is it goes out. Oh wow, that's long. Big text. Let me scroll up. Actually, let me make this guy go away entirely. That's a bit better. What it does is it queries Drupal.org, says, hey, what updates are there? And then says, oh, hey, you want to run it? And it will actually run the updates, pull down all the modules, update them. It is even version control aware, so if your Drupal root's checking to get something like that, you can supposedly do it, although I've had mixed luck with it actually detecting it properly, so I wouldn't necessarily rely on it. But it will then update all the modules, and then notice I deliberately chose this one because it's running 729 and 730, just for this fix for the progression of which is good. I love when they roll out security updates with versions. Yeah.
What do you recommend as best practices when you're like a development
Mhm.
environment without SVN? You can't really do that.
Yeah, sure can. Why can't you?
Because you have to do all the comment and everything. Deposit for that.
Okay, I have to admit, I haven't used SVN in at least 7 years, so my SVN tool is a little bit flat. But my developers do this all the time. When say, so as an example, we've been working on quite a few sites that we all had to update to 729 because of there was a security vulnerability. So I had them do exactly this: pull down the repo, fire up your local development environment, run a Drush up. And I'm going to go ahead and run this while I'm talking. I said run. Thank you. And what it does is it backs up all the existing modules, runs the updates, will then update core, which is it doing right now. Hey, you have good timing. Thank you. And if you're running a development environment where you have a local dev server on your local machine, you can immediately go load the site, run through your tests, make sure the update didn't break anything. And then, after this is run, I'll actually, since this is actually checked into Git, Git's going to see that I just changed Drupal core. And so all these files are now showing as modified. I check them in, push it up to my repository server, I'm done. So it is very definitely version control friendly, at least in the Git world. Now, depending on what your workflow looks like in your SVN environment and how you do your local development, that might or might not work the way you expect it. This is assuming it's running on a machine that has access to a running database. So if you're running on, if you're messing around with code, pushing it up to a server and then looking it on a server, yeah, this probably isn't going to work particularly well for you. You really need to be running the Drush command on a machine that can actually bootstrap Drupal. So now this is running. If I do a git status, yeah.
The update command that updates code, does it also update the database?
Yes. If you'll notice right here,
Oh, okay.
it's actually running the database.
So if you were to push this up, then you have to run this command again. So
You wouldn't have to run this command. All you have to do is run a Drush updb.
just update the update,
Yeah.
the database, yeah.
Yeah, which is one of the other commands. I didn't actually put it in the slide. I probably should have. But yeah, Drush updb is a nice one too because you can run database updates without having to do the website. So it does the same thing as update PHP, but without having to actually construct and carry through. It's actually a little bit faster than there, and I've noticed, especially if you have a lot of updates that are really long running and updates take a long time. I've had problems with servers hanging out before from the errors on updates as a lead time. Because this is running the PHP CLI rather than PHP through the web server, I don't have that problem. So if you have a lot of updates, that helps a lot. So as you can see now, it's detected that, actually I had it in 729 directly. This is one of the dangers of using this command. Is if you have your Drupal directory name for the version, it says 729, but it's actually running 739. But version control has detected that all this stuff is here. I can now check in all these updated files and push that to my repo so that I can pull it down. Pull the repo onto my staging and production servers or whatever, my testing servers, to then run the updb on those servers and it sets that. So did that answer your question, or is there more?
No, Git is different.
Yeah, it is a bit different, and it's been too long since I've used SVN, so I apologize on that. But I believe as long as you have a local web server running on the machine, SVN should be able to detect that all these files were changed. And you can just add them in and simulate with your modifying the outside. It just scripts a lot of the work for you. So then if I go back to the site, actually I want to do one other thing. So I log into the site so we can check and make sure that the updates were done and the site is happy. So we're going to ask it for a login. So there we go, and grab that path. And this will take a second because I'm running a local development environment and it's kind of rammed. So there it goes. So if we pop over to reports, we're doing on time. Okay. There we go. And now running Drupal 7.3.0. I probably should have loaded this beforehand just so I could say 7.2.9, but you get the idea. So now we have a fully updated Drupal site with really one command. So on small sites, like on a blog site or non-critical sites, it's totally safe to run this. I've done it many times before. I probably shouldn't, but I haven't shut myself a foot yet on it. So it's not a big critical site, and especially if it's on any development stage, blog site, something like that isn't critical. It's totally safe. Yes. Oh shoot! I just said that on tape, didn't I? Oops. So. The last one is Drush site install. Have anybody ever done that one? Oh, goody. Another one. You know, I'm not going to demo this one because it's kind of, I realized I didn't set it up properly. What Drush site install does is pretty much what you expect. You have a brand new, just downloaded Drupal, so you do a Drush DL, Drupal, you do a you get in there, you do a Drush site install. It actually runs through the install script to install the website, or hit the install.php page, creates the database, adds an admin user, generates a random ID, or random password for the admin user, and then dumps you out with a message saying, here's the admin user, here's the password for the admin user, here's one for the site. And you can use it with install profiles as well, so you can actually pass it an argument in the install profile. So if you have, if you're using something like Red Hat, something like that, you can pass -- profile Red Hat, and it will actually bootstrap up the database for the site and you can install the site with using that install profile. So that's a quick way. If you're starting a brand new project, you haven't created a database for it yet, you can just run Drush SI. Creates all the tables, creates the admin user, and you're on that. So it's a nice quick way rather than click through the install where you have to type in the AMD password for the database and all that sort of stuff. That's all.
It creates the database one?
It can, yes. Yeah, if you pass it,
The name of the database?
you can, yes, yeah, the Drush help commands are excellent. Actually, here, I will run that Drush help command for that site install so we can show you. Okay, don't make a fool of me. Yay, good. So, but yeah, so you got quite a few examples of. So, for example, you know, this is the most basic form where you tell it username and password for the database, what the database name is at the end, and you can then spin a new site in that database. It will also, warning, because the database already exists as a it will drop the database in. So, useful in a dev environment where it's like, you know what, this is totally screwed up, almost over. Oh, back up and run. Okay. So it's nice for early on in development when you want to create something. Let's see, we go till 11, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we have 5 more minutes. There are a ton of things. Actually, you know what? Any specific questions? Because I do have one other thing to show. Oh, yeah.
Drush 7. Well, Drush CC all like one of our best friends. And I noticed they don't have it.
Drush 7? I haven't actually played with Drush 7 yet. So.
Yeah, it's like gone. I get to replace with something I can get kind of weird.
Oh,
They have all the other ones, but they don't have CC all.
Not CC all?
really?
Yeah, that's the only one that's gone.
All right, I'm gonna have to go hunt down Jonathan and talk about that. Yeah, Jonathan has your one of the developers. He's also in Portland, so I'm gonna go. I know where he lives.
Yay!
I'll go track him down and find out about that. I'll do some research.
All back.
Yeah, I'm very surprised because that's one of the more powerful commands in Drush, and one of the probably most powerful commands.
I mean, it comes up and says like use this other or something,
Oh, okay.
but I'm not sure.
Okay, I'll have to look at that and we'll post a blog post. That's new. Thank you for pointing that out. Did somebody else have a hand up back here? I saw my hand.
And then you're gonna link to that on G Plus on your follow, right?
Yes. Yeah. So I do want to show you one other thing on this site, and that is, so this Start to Farm site has two pieces. It's got a front end that lives on starttofarm.gov, and then there's a back end which is s2fdata.org. And we have an interesting sort of situation because S2F, or starttofarm.gov, is on a Department of Agriculture server inside their data center. S2F data actually resides on one of our servers, and we synchronize the database between the two sites, and we do a few other things. So the nice thing about that is we actually can do some fun stuff. So we actually have some scripts in here that run on this site, and we do things like change the context of the site, because the two sites running the two servers have a different front page and different functions and things like that. So we can actually script the toggling of the site. Now, this said this is all going to change with Blake, because the whole config management and content separation stuff is going to make this completely different. It's going to be turning console. But this dates back to Drupal 6, and this is from the so. But we can do things like change the site name. So we have access to the entire variables directory. We can do a reset. We can also do a reget. So you can actually query various variable tables from Drush and pull information out of it as well. So we do things like we change what the front page is, because it's going to be a different site front page on the production site on startfarm.gov than we do on the data site. We also have different access, so there's a different Google Analytics account. All this stuff you toggle, and this one's automatic. So I could actually, I could actually show you this. So if I do, push it back over to staging, it's going to toggle that all that stuff the other direction. Oh, CTools isn't installed. Okay, I screwed up my install. So it's going through. It scripts all these changes, and then once it's done, and so it removes anonymous user access because only logged in users get access to the back-end internet. Again, it changes the Google Analytics cookie. And so this, we do a deployment, I think, once a week on this one. So basically, we just push the site over. The other thing we do is, along with SQL Sync, there's an rsync command that is both powerful and terrifying. Because if you do it wrong, or intentionally, if you want to do it that way, you can actually rsync the entire Drupal bootloader. So it's kind of the permanence development for a deployment tool. If you actually run a Drush rsync server name, or local to remote, and it'll show the entire Drupal up on the other site, which could be useful, although I wouldn't recommend necessarily deployments that way. That's one way to do it. But the other useful thing for it is you can also do, you can alias directories. So you can alias files directory so that you can rsync the files directory from prod or staging down to your local dev environment, so you have all the uploaded files, any of that sort of stuff that's going to upload to the UI. So that when you're developing on the site, you have all the stuff that is referenced in the data, so you don't end up with broken but as you can see, so this is done running. We can now pop over to the site. And instead of showing the public front page, it'll take a second because the caches are all cleared. It'll actually show us the intranet back end instead. Oh, yeah, I'm not logged in, so it's going to tell me so in a second. Okay, this is a rather large site, so it's kind of hard to run on a laptop environment. but it's gonna rebuild CSS and things like flush the cache, and it's a rather, yeah. So now, same site, same place, but the setting out the power. Tons and tons of more things you can do with Drush. It's kind of stress the surface, which is why it's but by all means, let me pop up my contact information again. I think I'm going to have to pick just one or two things because there is. Nope, wrong window. There we go. So yeah, I'm pretty much Gshay everywhere, except on Google Plus and Gshay. But yeah, by all means, drop me a note. I'm available everywhere. I hang out a lot in the groups that are have components site page, group, whatever you want to call it. So by all means, if you have questions about how this stuff works, throw a flag, yell, holler, whatever, let me know. Any other questions? Thank you. So I should be nice to the next person coming in. Where are we? There it is. Yes.
They are. Sweet.
Yes. Hopefully it worked. I have no idea.
Okay. What was that last thing you did to pull the files down into your dev? Is it like the same commands you use for deployment?
Oh, the rsync?